This is the Haulin Assets podcast where we show you how to start and run your own trucking company. Ever wanted to go out on your own? Follow Chris as he goes through the highs and lows of running on his own authority. Welcome, everybody. Welcome to the Haulin Assets podcast. This is episode number 107. I'm particularly excited for this one because we were just discussing going out truck shopping for my new trucking company tomorrow. I'm Craig, your host over there. He is Chris.
I'm here.
Chris, I think just, after doing this for three and a half years, whatever it's been, seeing all the amazing success, even on the down months, I'm going, you know what? I'm a little jealous, man. I'm a little jealous. So, Chris, how's it been?
It's been good. It's been challenging the last 3 months. We'll talk about it in today's episode, but all in all, it's good.
Yeah. That's right. Sometimes you have to zoom out, take a little 30,000 foot view and say, you know what, life's all right.
Yeah. I've said before, you've got to be able to, kind of weather, a year of not the greatest of times, because that, happens. I mean, you can go for a whole year when things aren't great. So 3 months of not what it was last year or even the beginning of this year. I mean, it is what it is. And you got to set up a company well so that you can manage those times.
Well, we're going to get to that. I mean, we'll get to the actual numbers in a moment. But what else is going on? We were talking about another truck hitting the road last time we were talking. So where are we at with that?
So June. So this is June financials. So we're going to be going over June. We actually had 2 trucks hit in June.
Oh, geez.
Yeah. And let me tell you this, for a company our size to take on 2 trucks in 1 month, Challenge. Yeah. Not a good thing. Not the ideal situation. Not a good thing is probably not the right way to say it, but just, it's definitely not the ideal situation. We made it work, but it's tough. It causes problems with cash flow. It causes problems with just the logistics of making everything happen, of hiring drivers, of doing everything. And that's just, it's too much in too short a period of time. Really even 2 trucks in a quarter is, for our size, probably a little bit too much, but it kind of, it is what it is in today's market. You can't, it's hard to plan ahead and really kind of almost impossible to. You think about it, we had to order our trucks almost a little over a year in advance. Yeah, so we ordered these trucks last July, and we couldn't really, we could say, hey, we want to get this one in the first quarter. We want to get one in the second quarter, one in the third quarter, and 2 in the fourth quarter, something like that.
And they chuckle and say, sure thing, you'll get them when you get them.
Exactly. And so just because of kind of how everything's going with the supply chain and everything, is just, you can't be choosy. Either take it now or don't get it. And so we've, just kind of the way things went, timing wise, had 2 come in within like 2 weeks of each other. And it's just, it's challenging.
And that's just the truck side of it, right? You're talking about the finances and the logistics and whatnot, but there's also the personnel issues where you're bringing on 2 new employees, people who've got to drive these trucks. How has that been? Has it been smooth sailing?
No, it's a challenge as well. I mean, we've, with both of these 2 trucks, we were within, the last week or 2 before we actually took possession of them. We're still kind of like, are we going to have a driver for them? Luckily, we were able to get a driver for both of them. So happy about that.
Yeah. All right.
One of the drivers is actually, it's Larry that was with us before and decided to go try something else and said, hey, I want to come back.
Turns out, Haulin Assets, not so bad.
Yeah, not so bad, hopefully.
That's why I'm still here, Chris.
Yeah.
You haven't gotten rid of me yet. All right. Well, and I heard the word flatbed. Is that a thing that we want to talk about?
So yeah, we will talk about that teaser. Well, let's just talk about it now.
Right.
And this involves Larry too. Larry has a lot of flatbed experience. And I'm not sure exactly how Nate came about this, but he found out about a guy that was selling a flatbed at a really good deal. It's a little bit of an older flatbed, but there's not as much that can go wrong on a flatbed. It came with like brand new set of tarps, full set of chains, binders, straps, everything that you basically need to get it going. And Larry's driven flatbed quite a bit in the past, so we decided, hey, what the heck? Let's go buy a flatbed trailer. They're a lot less expensive than a reefer.
Yeah.
And you can do well in the flatbed world, and so we're giving it a go. In fact, we already have the trailer. This all happened pretty quick. So we already have the trailer. Larry is actually picking up his first load. By the time this episode launches, he will have picked up his first load.
Very nice.
Will be on his way to Denver.
Denver. Okay. Yeah. I was going to ask where. I just did a road trip with wife and 2 kids from Salt Lake to Seattle and back in a little teeny tiny Mazda. Okay. It went remarkably well. But on our way back, I was shocked. I probably passed a half dozen or more flatbeds that were carrying blades for the windmills or whatever you call those.
Yeah. So I-80 and I-90.
A lot of that.
There's a lot of that on. Yeah. There's. I drove by it once. It's up on I-90. There's a big manufacturer of them.
Oh,
and
okay.
so you see.
So they're going all over the place.
They're going all over the place. Yeah.
Right.
And they are. It's pretty impressive. I mean, those things are long. That's incredibly long.
You see it in the distance. You're like, that's large. And then you see it up close and you're like, I had no idea.
Yeah. There's some pretty cool pictures online of them getting in wrecks too.
Oh, no.
One getting hit by a train. Pretty sweet.
Oh, no.
Well, you think about it. Those things crossing a train track. I mean, that's probably like a 30-second crossing of the train track because they're so long.
Man, you go on with the episode. I'm going to start Googling some stuff because that sounds like a lot of fun. No, before we go on with anything else, I will remind people, HaulinAssetsLLC.com is where you can go for full show notes and for past episodes and all that stuff. Go to motorcarrierhq.com for all the resources, both live and written resources. You can actually get people on the phone and all that stuff. So if you're just starting out or you're just thinking about starting out, go to motorcarrierhq.com for some help with that. Tons of great resources for you there. What was the other thing I was going to say? Oh, just a programming note. So we're doing financials. We've been doing this every other episode for the last forever, it seems like. So next week, we're actually going to dip back into the listener questions. So we took a bunch of listener questions. Chris and I recorded a marathon episode answering a bunch of those, and the second half of that is coming out the next episode, so 2 weeks from now. So look forward to that. And Chris, you've got an announcement for a winner.
Yeah.
Is that right?
We do. We have a winner.
Let's hear it.
Chris W. wins the $1,000. He was one of the guys on the stories. He talked a little bit about his story, listening to the podcast and starting his own trucking company. So he won the $1,000 prize, and he's got that coming to him in the mail before tomorrow.
Amazing. Now I noticed.
Lucky him. Congrats, Chris.
Yeah, congrats, Chris. I detect a little bit of bias here.
Yeah.
Okay.
There's no bias. I did this honestly. I actually used an Excel spreadsheet and then used Google to randomize a number, and that's how, Chris, you won.
There you go. So
it couldn't have happened to a better guy.
Don't worry. No, yeah, that's right. Nothing untoward has happened here. No, that's very cool. So congratulations, Chris. I do notice that you didn't set off any confetti cannons this time, like you did on our 100th episode. For which I'm grateful, because I'm still vacuuming that up. It's stuck in these lights up here in front of my face. Like there's confetti all over the place here still. What's it been? 3 months?
That was fun. Yeah, I want to do it. I kind of want to do it again.
Yeah,
200 episode 200. We'll have to do it again.
All right. Well, people will have to keep listening, so that's up to them. All right. Now, what else do we want to talk about? Is there anything else before we get into the actual numbers of this episode, or should we dive in?
I have one other thing I want to talk about, but it might actually be better to talk about once we're in the episode.
Okay.
Right. Just don't let me forget.
All right. So, okay, no problem.
I don't think I will, but just in case.
Let's get to numbers. Now, Chris, you said that this was another rough month. Now, a rough month, so the last 2 have been less than stellar, revenue-wise, or profit-wise, I should say. But that didn't mean that Haulin Assets was losing a bunch of money. It just meant that you guys were kind of treading water, nothing gained, nothing lost. It was just kind of at a standstill. Is that a fair assessment of what happened the last couple months?
Correct.
Okay, yep. So you said this month was another in this kind of string of rough months. Is that, again, what's happened?
Yep. basically. Yeah, we didn't lose money technically, but again, we're kind of in the treading water stage, just trying to keep our heads above water. We're not losing money, but not really making any either.
Right. Okay, so with that in mind, now that we've got that preview, let's start with the miles run. Now, this is, you said we've added trucks 6 and 7 in the last month, which, as you said, is, let's see, hang on, there's a sociological term for that. That's insane, Chris. That's crazy.
It is insane.
No, we added 6 and 7 in the last month, so they probably weren't running the full month in June, if at all, for truck 7. So what sort of miles are we looking at?
64,759 miles.
Okay. And that's including what trucks 6 and 7 were able to do.
It'd be about 11,000 miles less if I took 6 and 7 out. Okay. I actually did that, and it's right over 53,000. So it's pretty close to 11,000 miles less, which 53,000 miles then would be about 3,000 less than we did with the same number of trucks
the month before. So, but with 5 trucks at 53,000 miles, you're still averaging over 10,000 per truck, which is, based on what I remember from our past financials episodes, kind of the bare minimum. We got to do 10,000 a month per truck to even hope to be profitable, right?
That's fair.
Yeah. I mean, we're hoping more like 11.5 or 12, something like that, right?
Correct. But what ended up happening this month is we had 2 drivers that took a little bit longer vacations, time off than normal. It is the summertime, and that's typically when people take vacations. So that's a big reason why the numbers, if you look at those same 5 trucks, were lower in June than they were in May.
Okay. All right. That makes sense. And what about Deadhead? Was that holding steady?
Holding steady, but it did creep up just a little bit, but not enough to really say, it's creeping up. We went to 4,102 Deadhead miles, which is 6.3%. Last month, if I remember right, it was 5.9.
Okay.
So not much.
And again, we want to keep that under 5 when possible. And then 7 is the break glass in case of emergency.
Really, I don't know if I'd even say 7 is. 10 gets to be really way more than we'd like. But 7's still kind of, I would say 5 to 7 is kind of that normal operating range.
Okay.
If you can get 5 or less, you're doing really, really well. 5 to 7 is still pretty good. You start getting up over 7 and you're not where you want to be.
Right.
You get up pushing 10 and that's kind of when you're breaking glass.
Right. Okay. So I saw a bunch of local guys driving their trucks at the 4th of July parades a few weeks ago. Yeah. And I was thinking to myself, that's all right. This parade route is 1 mile. They'll be all right.
Yeah, but they're probably idling a decent amount. Yeah, burning off some good fuel there.
Exactly. Okay, so all right. So call it 65,000 miles with 6.3% Deadhead. Where are we at for revenue?
Revenue was $142,631, so $142,631.51, which is pretty close to what we were last month.
With a little bit more truck running.
Yep, a few more miles. Okay. And we didn't have a whole lot of the revenue from truck 6 and 7 coming in. There was a little bit. Again, this is kind of another one of those anomalies with adding 2 trucks, and you had a little bit more vacation, but you added 2 trucks. It's kind of a weird month because of all of that.
Yeah, makes sense. Okay, so what does that give us as a rate per mile then?
$2.20. $2.20, which is the lowest it's been in quite a while.
I was going to say that's almost shockingly low compared to what it's been before. So what we're probably going to get into what we attribute that to, but any initial thoughts on that?
It's really just the market. The market right now is you've got a little bit less going on because it's summertime, and the market's just changing. I think there's a lot of companies right now that just don't really know what to do as far as manufacturing and inventories. And I think inventories are kind of catching up. They were historically low. But with that being said, the stuff I've read lately that actual freight volumes hauled hasn't changed a whole ton.
Whoa, jeez. Well, I'll tell you who's Haulin. It's these fighter pilots above us. Yeah. This is gonna, I listen to some podcasts where they have recurring segments or recurring jokes, and this is gonna be ours. Like you listen to some show out of New York City, and they've got ambulances and police cars going on in the background, right? You always have that siren. This show, it's all about that jet engine sound.
It is about that jet engine sound.
Sorry, where were we? All right.
So, it's just the market, supply and demand. There's a few more trucks on the road apparently than there is freight that needs to be hauled, and so rates are going down, and so that's kind of where it's at. It really feels like the last month or two they've really kind of more held steady, but they need to start going up just a little bit.
Yeah. Well, hopefully they do. And where does that leave us as far as profit goes? You said the revenue was, let me look back again. Gosh, 119. So call it, 142.
Yeah, 142.
Yeah, 142.
The profit was $7,207.19. So again, it's a profit, but
we talked about this the last couple times where we can see a profit like this. And if you're a one truck operation, hey, you got $7,000 in profit. Great. You're looking great.
Yeah.
But when you're running 6 and 7 trucks out on the road, there are other expenses that don't show up. Like once you factor them in, that $7,000 profit kind of disappears, right?
Yeah, and so in this situation, it's really the biggest impact of that is your principal payment on your loan. So if you look at the principal payments on the loans of all of our trucks, it totals more than $7,000, and so that profit's really been eaten up in the principal payments on our trucks. And so if I didn't look at this, but I'll guarantee you that cash flow wise, we actually were negative in June. So we had more cash going out the door than we had coming in.
Accounting is weird, man.
Accounting is weird.
It's weird.
Yeah.
That's, if when I start my trucking company, Chris, tomorrow when we go out shopping for trucks.
To look for trucks.
That's right. That's going to be the number one, scariest thing for me is accounting. I can't wrap my head around some of this stuff. I don't know. It's you magicians out there with your spreadsheets and your numbers and your je ne sais quoi.
It takes practice. You learn it, when you're in it all the time. Yep. You learn it, and it's a good skill to have, but it takes time.
Yeah. All right. So, Chris, let's get into these numbers then. What do you want to pull out from the profit and loss? And don't forget that there was something that you wanted to bring up. Now that we're in the numbers, I don't know what that is.
I've got an item here down at the bottom that should trigger me remembering what I wanted to talk about.
So yeah, let's get into the P&L.
So the first thing that we already talked a little bit about, had a couple drivers take extended time off. So that reduces your revenue a pretty decent amount. Mm-hmm. So that's part of it. 6 and 7, you've got 2 new trucks that came on. So if you look at the profit and loss statement, you're going to see a few categories that are a little bit higher than normal, like tools and equipment. That was some expenses that went into buying stuff, outfitting the new trucks. Let's see, what else was there?
Do we want to talk
office supplies? Just a handful of things.
Just little stuff,
but it adds up. There's a roughly a couple $1,000s worth of the startup expense of starting putting a couple new trucks on the road, getting them all outfitted and ready to go.
Right. And that's the little stuff, but what about big stuff? Things like fuel, things like registration. I assume that got out of the way.
Yeah, so there's some fuel in there, and we'll talk about that in just a second. But yeah, vehicle registration. So there's some permitting expenses and a few other things that all got added into June that, it may be a little bit more than $2,000 to $3,000 of the net profit that probably was just tied to those 2 trucks.
Right. All right. So you mentioned, you told me something about a couple small accidents, and so maybe there's some repairs in there. Is that something we want to get into?
That's what we'll talk about in a second.
Oh shoot!
I'm look at you. You're already.
I'm getting so far ahead. I don't even know what to do with myself.
Yeah. So the other thing, let's go back to truck 6 and 7.
Okay,
Another thing that kind of impacts here is you think about it. When you get a new truck, like you drive it off the dealer lot, and the fuel needle is at fuel me now, or you might not make it
sure
another mile down the road.
No,
they're not putting any extra in there.
Right.
And so you basically have 2 tanks of fuel, and today that's expensive. I mean, to fill up one of these trucks from empty to full, I mean, you're talking, $800,
right?
Probably. Let's see, more than that. They're 150 gallon, the 250 gallon tank.
Never do math live, Chris. Never.
Yeah,
Don't do it.
We're talking well over $1,000 per truck. So let's just say $2,500 in fuel just to put the first tank of fuel in these trucks. And then you're really running the trucks for a good week before any revenue hits. So you've got kind of a week worth of fuel and driver expense and everything before any of the revenue for those two trucks hit. And so you've got, several thousand more dollars of expense, probably between the two trucks, the fuel and the driver, you're probably talking almost another 10 grand.
Wow.
Of expenses, maybe not quite 10 grand, but pretty close
before any revenue
to even offset that a little bit. So I think July or June's numbers are actually a little bit better than kind of what the picture paints because of adding two trucks in June.
Right. So you're expecting that things might catch up a little bit with the July numbers?
Yeah, they at least at the very minimum should normalize a little bit.
Yeah.
So I'm actually and kind of feeling the way things have been so far. My gut tells me that July is going to be a better month than the last 3 months have. So cautiously optimistic that we'll be okay there.
You think rates are going to come up to compensate for some of this?
That's a good question. It's hard to say. I haven't really looked at the rates that much, but fuel, we can feel that fuel's coming down a little bit, and so that'll help some. So I think July is going to be better than April, May, and June have been.
I have loved some of the, you see the news stories that are trumpeting the fuel price drop. This is the fastest price drop we've had in 28 years. And you look at it and you're right, because it went from $6 down to $5.50.
Yeah.
Like
a 50-cent drop. It's really less than 10% change. Yeah.
Yeah. It's hilarious.
It's still way too high.
It hurts.
Yeah.
It hurts, Chris. All right.
Hopefully that stops.
Well,
we need better fuel prices.
Cool. I agree. Where else do we want to go on the P&L?
So the other big things were the maintenance and repairs were a little bit higher than normal.
Right.
So that obviously affects things a little bit. The one thing
is that because of the new trucks?
No, that's
separate issue.
Yeah,
okay.
Separate issue, just a little higher than normal.
Yeah.
So there's a new category on the P&L that people haven't seen before.
Oh.
And it's damages.
Uh-oh.
And so this is where you kind of gave that little teaser. So we've had a few small accidents in the last couple of months that the corrections or the payments for those accidents have
eaten up a little bit of revenue.
Yeah.
So damages. Now, people who've been in the industry probably know exactly what you're talking about. I don't, Chris. So is this damages to or involving the truck, or is this about the cargo? If we're doing a separate category.
So these situations are about damaging truck and property.
Okay.
So we've had a couple drivers in the last couple months get in some small fender bender accidents, or they've scraped a barrier with the trailer and caused some damage that way. Actually 3 instances. And it's we're going to start seeing this on the P&L because we're paying to get trucks repaired, we're paying to get trailers repaired, and we're paying to get other people's cars fixed. We're just kind of seeing the tip of the iceberg at this point.
Oh, wow.
It's not going to be huge. I haven't kind of totaled the total amount, but we're probably going to be spending somewhere between $15,000 and $20,000 in repairs over the next month or two
for a couple minor scrapes.
Mm-hmm.
So when we say minor scrapes, that's without looking at the dollar amount involved in these minor scrapes.
Yeah. And kind of me venting maybe a little bit with this is I don't understand these, like, because one of them's actually the same person did twice, 2 different instances. And I had my CDL brand new when I first started driving.
Yeah.
1 year.
Right.
Never had any kind of instance like that. I mean, the worst you can say that I did was I let a deer run into the side of the truck.
Which was hilarious.
But I never hit another vehicle. I
Right.
never checked anything. But I was also probably beyond overly cautious.
Well, right. I was going to say this. I think this is perfectly explainable. There are different personality types, and you are a very fastidious, detail-oriented person. You're going to, you're going to dot all your I's and cross all your T's while you're driving, right? And so maybe somebody else doesn't have that type of personality. Okay, so that's one thing. But also, you've been driving for 5 years, 10 years, 25 years. At a certain point, you're just on autopilot, and you're not. That attention to detail starts to fade, and this happens in any industry with any activity, right? Yeah. It's not just driving, but the consequences might be bigger.
Yeah. and I think another part of that too is just and probably because I was new, like my confidence wasn't there. I definitely never got overconfident, which is really easy to do, and that's what causes what you're talking about.
Right.
But I was also not afraid to look like a total idiot. So
we know, Chris. Yeah.
So when I be at a truck stop with a bajillion people and I'm stopping traffic trying to get parked and you've got other trucks waiting for you to get through, I wasn't afraid to get out of the truck and go look and make sure I wasn't hitting something as I was backing in. And a lot of people just won't
go
do
for
that.
it.
They just go for it. And that's not necessarily what happened in these situations, but it's a similar type of thing where, like, I can't tell you how many times I got out of my truck and went and looked just to make sure I wasn't going to hit anything. I did that all the time, and you never see a whole lot of drivers doing that. And I think that's a big part of the reason is guys just like, I got this. I'm going to back in and not get out and look.
I've been backing in for 10 years. Don't tell me I can't do it now.
Yeah. And so I think those kind of things, it's that kind of stuff that happens, or I would always take my turns wider than I needed to. And I would always, when I was in the middle of a room, in the middle of a turn or all throughout the turn, no matter how much room I think I've got, I was always checking in my rearview mirror to make sure I wasn't hitting something.
Yeah.
And that's, and I probably attribute that to the reason that I never got in an accident. I never broke anything, never hit anything. And
yeah. Well, this feels like, Chris, the beginning of an impact tip and the end of our numbers discussion. Be careful out there or something. Do you have an impact tip for us today?
Be careful out there or something.
You're so mean.
Good, Craig.
Yeah, you know what? This is why you hire a professional like me. That's a wordsmith, natural wordsmith right here.
Yeah, there you go. I like that. Be careful. Yeah, just it's one of those things in everything that you do. Attention to detail, right? Whether you're driving or whether you're going through your profit and loss statement, pay attention to what you've got going on and make sure that you're, just not leaving things to chance,
right?
We'll say, and you're trying to control everything that you can. The way that I always justified like being willing to get out of a truck multiple times when there's other people waiting on me to make sure I wasn't hitting anything is I would much rather look like an idiot getting out of my truck and making it safely back to where I'm need to park,
right?
Rather than looking like an idiot because I ran into something.
Yeah, absolutely. This reminds me of something. I'm going to bring in an analogy, Chris, and I'll bet you'll never guess where this analogy will come from. But it's baseball. So last night was the home run derby. Tonight's the All-Star game. Very exciting. Last night was the home run derby. I watched it with my kid because one of our Seattle Mariners was playing and was hitting, and it was glorious to behold. But I was reading up and watching a few things before the home run derby started, and one of the competitors was Albert Pujols. This dude has been in the league for, I want to say, 22 years.
Wow.
Okay? This guy, he's 42 years old. He's still mashing home runs. He's just amazing. This guy is a living legend. Absolutely amazing. He goes to the home run derby. People are worshiping the ground he walks on, right? But what does he do the day before and the morning of the home run derby? He gets out into the batting cage with his coach and goes over the basics and makes sure that his footwork is correct, make sure that his elbow's in the right place. You're right. He's getting out there. After 22 years, he gets out there and practices every single day to be able to still do what he does. And I guess the point just being, there's a part of us that probably wants to say, hey, I'm Albert friggin' Pujols out there. Like, I can drive my dang truck. But if you are successful, if you're good at it, if you are a good driver, and I assume because you're listening to this, you're obviously smart and intelligent and very good looking, that you're a really good driver. If you are, you got that way for a reason. The learning the fundamentals and, honing your, through your experiences, honing your skills. And so doing that continually throughout your career is kind of vital. And it's that, paying attention to those basics so that when, I don't know what the home run derby equivalent would be in trucking, but when you're there, when it's time, when it counts, those basics are going to see you through.
Check your mirrors, get out and look.
Yeah.
Pay attention. So I like that analogy. So here's my question then for this impact tip that we kind of came up with on the fly because I really didn't have one today.
Don't worry, I got you.
Attention to detail, or is it go back to the basics?
Oh, goodness. It's, I don't know, but like go back to the basics kind of sounds like you're abandoning any advanced tactics or
don't forget the basics.
Yeah, just maintain the basics. Keep going with what made you good in the first place, right?
Absolutely.
So
I like that. I'm going to put that in there. I'm going to put that in the show notes and everything. Even though I've already written them.
I was going to say, yeah.
Good job,
when
Craig.
You say that, you mean
you
I'm
earned your
write
pay today, Craig. I'm proud of you.
That's wait, I by the way, I am going to write in the impact tip. What is it? Be careful or something. Or like, whatever I said.
Or something. Yeah.
So that's your impact tip. All right. So, Chris, I think we're good to call it there unless you got anything else. Any final thoughts?
We'll just go downhill from here. So, yeah, we better wrap it up.
Absolutely. So, thanks everybody for listening. Again, HaulinAssetsLLC.com, full show notes, and that's a place where you can comment. Yes, Chris will see those comments. I promise you. You can also find us on Facebook. You'll see those as well. So, comment away. Don't forget to go to motorcarrierhq.com for all those resources to help with this, this giant 800-pound terrifying gorilla called accounting, like stuff like that. You can get resources to help you out with that at motorcarrierhq.com. Chris, thanks for coming in, and I will not see you in a couple of weeks because we've already filmed that episode and we've already got some listener questions, but I will hear you again in a couple of weeks.
We'll see you soon.
Yeah. All right. Thanks, everybody.
See you.